Hi, everyone. I'm going to let folks roll in, but we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to a VMUG webcast. If this is your first one, we're glad to have you. VMUG is an independent global customer-led organization created to maximize members' use of VMware in partner solutions through knowledge sharing, training, collaboration, and events, including virtual ones like this one. A few housekeeping items as we get started. You can get connected to a local VMUG community near you at my.vmug.com. Please use the Q&A function next to the chat for all the questions for Doug today. He will be answering these live and throughout the webcast in the box. And this session is being recorded, so the recording will be distributed in a wrap-up email after the webcast and will be available at my.vmug.com. You can find all future VMUG webcasts here at this QR code. This will also, these can also be found at my.vmug.com, but we will have a series starting next week, next Tuesday, a 4-part series on VCF9, demystifying everything you need to know, and a panel on that. So make sure to stay tuned. I think this is aptly timed. And then we will be at Explore on Tour and user cons coming up. So make sure to save these if we're coming to a city near you. Okay, Doug, I will stop sharing and I will kick it over to you now. Oh.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you, Erica. And let me share my screen and make sure I got all of that right. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah. Oh, all right. Sorry. You're on mute. Okay. Oh, let's go ahead and get started. So as Erica said, my name is Doug Dorta. I lead a team of technical resources for Broadcom. My responsibilities, I support all of our partners from enablement and certification perspective. I also have pre-sales and post-sales technical teams that support the commercial segment for the Americas. And have a few other functions too, but they are all related to obviously on the technical side of Broadcom. So Erica, thank you for the opportunity to present here on a subject that is very near and dear to my heart, which is a discussion related to why you should upgrade from VVF to VCF. So here's how I would like to run the session. I'm going to show obviously the functionalities that we have with VCF and how they are an upgrade from VVF. I think that's a given. Most of the folks on the call probably already know that. But this is not going to be a deep dive technical session. What I'm going to look, hopefully be able to share with you is the reasons why you should look into the overall functionality from a business perspective and identify why VCF is really the product that you should be looking into if you currently have VVF in your environment. We're going to separate this into two main tracks. One is going to be to go through the presentation, and it's more of a technical or a tactical track. I am going to talk about functionality and a few numbers related to each one of the buckets, and you see here in a second. But don't worry so much about slides that you will see that show X percentage of improvement here, X percentage of decrease in risk, etc. We have a tool, PCMO tool, that is a conversation for another webinar, but that will be able to go into your environment and give very specific detail on percentages of all kinds of things as we look at your environment specifically. So don't pay too much attention to that. I am interested in sharing more of a vision than specific numbers. And the second part of it is, I said, tactical with the functionality of VCF versus VVF. And then I want to have a little bit of a conversation at the end from a strategic point of view. Why is this important? Why is it more than just the functionality that VCF brings into your environment? So let's go ahead and get started. If I can start here. So VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF 9.0. As most of you know, we had a GA a few months ago. This is Broadcom's vision for the modern private cloud. Now, a lot of times when you have a conversation and you talk to clients about a modern private cloud, a lot of people take a step back and they say, I'm not interested, I'm not doing that, I already work with hyperscalers, or I have already my private cloud and all. And I think there is a lot of confusion on the definition of what that is. Basically, what Broadcom's vision of the modern private cloud is a platform that runs in your data center or data centers that allows you to have total control, visibility, security, compliance, recovery. It's a full-blown platform that gives you control over all of the IT functions within your business. And to make this transition, very few businesses start at the very beginning and they say, yes, let's go to private cloud, and they embark into this long journey of moving all of these pieces into production. I want to talk to you a little bit how to go from VVF to VCF, and how you ought to look at each one of the functionalities available in VCF and how that may benefit your particular business. So this slide is basically to set the base for our conversation on what is in each one of the platforms that we currently sell. We sell VMware vSphere Enterprise Plus, vSphere Foundation, VVF, and VMware Cloud Foundation, VCF. As you can see by the specific boxes here, there is a significant number of advantages and functionality to go with VCF versus Enterprise Plus and VVF. And we're going to dive into each one of these areas here in a little more detail. But I wanted to make sure we had a basis of understanding that VCF is the full-blown platform, where vSphere Enterprise Plus and VVF, they are solid platforms, nothing wrong with them, but they are not to the level that of functionality that VCF can provide. So we're going to start with this slide. We're going to go in each one of these buckets, and we're going to end with this same slide. So if you, let me set the stage a little bit before I go into each one of these buckets, that sometimes when somebody's telling you a story, it takes more of a version of, if you want to make an analogy of movies, like if you have the Lord of the Rings, for example, where you have a start and then a great adventure, and you have an ending where everything comes together. And it's a nice storytelling, and you know what the end is going to be, sort of. And then you get there and you know exactly what it looks like. And sometimes movies are more like the Marvel line of movie, where the very first scene is you see the destruction, and the good guys are laying down, and you don't know what is actually happening. Did they lose? And then the movie goes back a few months or a year, and then they tell you the story, but you kind of know where it's headed. And then when you get there, it the story continues. What we're going to do here is we're going to start on the tactical side and go into each one of these buckets, but I'm showing you this because I'm going to end with this exact same slide, and that's where I'm going to get into the strategic part of the conversation. So in this slide, what we have done is we separated the functionality that comes with VCF into 5 main buckets: the operational efficiency, the storage, platform and apps, security, and portability. So why did we do this? Because folks that have VVF are on a journey to continue to improve their environments, integrate their IT teams, and so forth. And I may be talking about single platform and Kubernetes, and people will go, hey, I don't use that. I don't do Kubernetes. I have my own way of developing apps, or I have my own storage. I don't want vSAN, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of conversations. But what I want to focus on are the business challenges that come with each one of these buckets. And as you identify a business challenge in your environment today, use what I'm going to describe in each one of them as the starting point for you to identify the benefit that VCF can bring to your environment. So let me do one of them and you will see where I'm going with this. Let's start with the operational efficiency, for example. So you have, in this particular category, we have made VCF operations an upgrade from what you have in VVF. So what do you get with VCF that you don't have in VVF? You basically have a full-blown environment where you can maintain the life cycle management, all patches and upgrades and things that usually take a significant amount of time for you to maintain on your own. All of those functions are automated. You also have password management, certificate management, audit, reporting from audit. There's a lot of extra stuff that comes with each one of these particular topics. And the third one, which in my opinion is the most important, is the visibility across all of the infrastructure. You have visibility not only into the compute and the storage and the network side, but you also have visibility into databases and applications and performance and response time. There's a lot of detail that has been added to the VCF operations part of VCF that will give you a significant, more in-depth view of your environment. And as I said in the beginning, I'm going to go to these slides somewhat fast because what I'm trying to do is just show you a little bit of the business needs that these functions resolve and not necessarily the technical information associated with each one of them. And I will have plenty of time at the end if you'd like to come back to each one of these, ask specific questions. We will go into that direction. But again, from an operations perspective, what VCF provides is a significant upgrade to what you have on Enterprise Plus or VVF. This will give you a lot more control and predictability into managing your infrastructure than you have with a current VVF platform. Moving forward into storage, as I said in the beginning, this is not for everyone. We believe that if you happen to have a storage refresh coming up, I think it's important that you look at this because there are tremendous advantages of using vSAN on the VCF product, but there are folks that like their storage managed in a particular way. There could be application needs for throughput, locations. The storage is a complicated part of the data center. I think on this, what is important to show is that when you have the VVF infrastructure, part of your license includes a 0.25 TB of storage embedded into VVF. So if you want to, test it out, do vSAN and all, you would have a flavor of that, and you could see how it works. On VCF is a 1-to-1. For every core of VCF that you get, you have 1 TB of storage as part of what you can do with vSAN. And as it's showing here, 24% lower TCO. What I am hoping to show this is that I will get with each one of you is that you will give us an opportunity to work with you and use the tools that we have to identify what your storage needs are and allow us to show you why vSAN is an option. At a minimum, I think, and this is my personal opinion, if I was in your position, which I've been many years ago as an administrator, I think it is important to do some kind of validation on what you currently have and maybe a POC with vSAN to see what you gain from putting this function within your environment. I think you will be pleasantly surprised on how easy it is to manage and how much more you can get by using vSAN. But as I said before, storage is a very sensitive subject, so I rather have a discussion one-on-one with each one of our clients to show how they can benefit from this particular function. Next, we're talking about platform and applications, and I could probably spend an hour talking with all of these three items that are in here. This is a very complex ecosystem in any IT environment. There are very specific needs for groups of application development. We also have application modernization. We have clients that have legacy applications that may or may not be candidates to become modern applications. But as we continue to evolve from an IT perspective, I think most administrators know that it's a matter of time until a particular legacy application will have to change. And I think this VCF 9 is the ecosystem where you can bring all of your developers and all of the IT infrastructure folks together and solve a lot of the issues that you normally have on provisioning an environment for development and user acceptance test and then going into production and so forth. So what is involved in here is basically a piece of the platform that allows you to manage all of your VMs, all of your containers, and even private AI, which we'll talk about in a second. But all of these items can be managed from a compute and storage and network perspective from a single location. The microservices that are included in VCF will allow your developers to provision environments within your infrastructure, just like they can do in a hyperscaler. They will be able to get the services that they need, provision the environment, initiate their development, and with AI and Kubernetes and VMs all in the same place, you cover all of the needs from a developer. They are able to provision the environment, get the services, and continue their development in a very short amount of time. So from a developer's perspective, it's very handy. They are able to get what they need and then keep on going with their projects. From an infrastructure perspective, it's also very convenient because you are managing the use of the infrastructure and how it's being consumed. And it gives you, along with the VCF operations, total visibility within the environment. So you can do estimations and know by the time a particular set of applications that is being developed runs in production, what is that going to do to my infrastructure? How is that going to impact everything I have? Do I need more power? Do I need more storage, etc.? So the management of the VM, the containers, and the private AI workloads, all in the same location is critical. The second part of this is the container piece has always been, how can I say this? There are very specific usages for container, and the people that use containers are also very picky with the way they like to work. So an important part of this is you won't hear me say anything bad about any other product. For example, OpenShift, Red Hat OpenShift, or some other container usage that you may currently have today. They are great products. There's nothing wrong with them. They do everything they need to do. But with VCF 9, you are getting a Kubernetes management that is equal, if not superior, because of all the other things that are in the environment, to something like Red Hat OpenShift. You are allowed to use the same type of services that they have, the same development, the same deployment, but on top of that, that particular ecosystem is now under VCF. So you are able to have visibility into all of the containers and manage them accordingly, deployment, management, evaluation of how much compute that they are using. Do they need to expand? Do you need more? There's a lot of things that you gain by taking that particular piece, the Kubernetes piece, and putting it inside VCF to work in accord with everything else that you have in your environment. And then the last one, as I said, private AI. It used to be that private AI for VCF was an add-on service. And as of last week in Explore, we announced the VMware Explore conference, we announced that all of the private AI services and functions and workload management is all built in. So with your VCF 9 license, you get all that you need to develop private AI, to develop AI applications within the private AI function. What does that mean? AI nowadays is in its infancy, and there are a lot of folks doing tests and trying to figure out how they can monetize a particular application or applications. And it is a significant cost if you need to go to a hyperscaler and set up an environment for you to do testing and prototyping and so forth. With VCF 9, that is already embedded. Also, another thing that we do that is very unique and it'll help tremendously is the same way that we manage the compute on the vSphere side for your CPUs. We do that with the GPUs also. And I'm sure all of you know the expense that is associated with GPUs and you know, just optimizing how you can use them is a significant advantage on creating these AI applications. And all of this that you see here, like I said, I could spend a long time on this slide, but it is all embedded into VCF 9. So you may not be to the point where you're doing AI applications at the moment, but I'm sure you will. We all will. I think it's a direction that IT is moving, that we are all going to end up in the same place. So let me move on to the next one, because I want to get to this real quick so you have time for questions. The next one is something that is near and dear to all of us: security. Who doesn't need more security? It's a topic that is always at the forefront. We have all types of issues with security. Again, is another topic that we can spend a lot of time. But let me just share the highlights from a VCF 9 perspective. It has it's a hardened platform that has built-in encryption and in motion and at rest. It has advanced cybersecurity compliance. It has what other functions that it has? It does the single sign-on, the role-based security maintenance. There's so many different things that on the SecOps dashboard you can maintain, that it allows you to have all of the security management within the platform. So I keep going back to the same, you know, the same narrative over and over and over. It is that everything that we normally have working in silos in this individual, into our IT organization, we are now bringing them all together where they have visibility into each other's pieces of the pie, and you can all work together, integrated. That is the benefit of VCF. And that's something that you get in a little bit within VVF if you have some of the add-ons and so forth. But with VCF, you get the entire platform. The second item here, the microsegmentation, has to do with vDefend, which is an add-on to VCF, but it's basically our firewall offering, and we have it's the east and west maintenance. You know, we do the microsegmentation, we have the distributed firewall, we have ATP built in, intrusion detection, and so forth. Everything that you would expect from a firewall service is included in this add-on. And again, same thing I said above, it builds upon what's already in the platform and works in accord with everything that is already in place for security. The last part here, we talk about the full stack sovereign cloud, which is the peace of mind of having the security, the data that you control, and something that is not even specifically defined in here is the recovery piece of VCF 9. It also has the connectivity of the DR capabilities with VCDR. It has the ransomware protection that is built into this vertical of security also. And as all of you know, we could spend a significant amount of time talking about malware prevention and intrusion detection, et cetera, et cetera. The idea, once again, is to get all of these things that we all have to deal with on a regular basis and bring under a single unified platform where the backend systems are all talking to each other. And it allows you to have better visibility and overall a much easier way of managing all of your security needs. Again, with an integration into all of the other components of the platform. And finally, cloud portability. We all know that even though Broadcom's vision is the modern private cloud, and we would like to have all workloads brought on-prem and people develop their private cloud on-prem and have everything there, the reality of the world is that we are going to have workloads scattered into different areas. And I think what's important to point out here is that if you have the VCF license, it is portable into the hyperscalers. So from a knowledge and training and operations perspective, it gives you the same exact visibility regardless of where your workloads are being executed. And most important, as you develop the footprint of VCF in your data center, this gives you control of identifying where your workloads should run. If you have a current contract with a hyperscaler, you know exactly what you're paying to have those workloads run on the cloud. And then you start running regular or critical workloads within your data center. It gives you a direct comparison of what would it take if I were to get this workload from the cloud and put it into my data center. Or if you would like, for whatever reason, maybe for data sovereignty reasons or some other specific need that is unique to your environment or to your industry, you have to have things in the cloud. You can take the portability of VCF, move that to the cloud, and you will still have the full visibility on everything that you are running into a single place. It gives you flexibility. It gives you the ability to plan on not only from a budget perspective, but from a maintenance and usability perspective on where your workloads will be. And this gives you a direct and complete view of your environment. Again, we go back to the same premise again. Having the ability to manage, control, integrate all of your environment under a single platform. So I told you that we would go through these very quickly, which we did. We are back to that same slide that I started, which is also my last slide here, because I want to leave plenty of time for questions. So before we close and I open for questions, I wanted to take the second track that I was talking about, which is the strategic track of VCF. We talked a little bit about the technical functions going from VVF to VCF. I think it's pretty clear that there are tremendous advantages from a technical perspective to have VCF versus VVF. But strategically speaking, what does that mean? Broadcom, as we acquired VMware, I don't think it's well known that the vision, the VCF vision, is not a Broadcom vision. It is a VMware vision. VMware, when they created VCF, They had the vision that has been executed by Broadcom. They started it. They were not able to complete it for a variety of reasons that we don't need to get into. But as Broadcom acquired VMware, the first thing we did was the collapsing of all of the silos that were working independently within VMware. We created the original offerings, VVF being one of them. And as you know, VCF 5.2 was our first attempt on getting VCF to be established as a platform. And it was a valiant attempt. It has a few things that need to be worked on. I think most of our clients are still in 5.2 since VCF 9 is so new. VCF 9 is the new iteration. And just for transparency, the reason to go from 5.2 to 9 is because we are following the vSphere, which was 8.03, I believe, and we're going to 9 because that is the heart of everything that we are putting together. But from a strategic perspective, we are looking at all of the indicators. By we, I mean Broadcom. We are looking at all of the indicators in the market of where is IT headed. And what we see is, as I mentioned before, AI is going to be a main staple of everything in IT. There's no doubt about that. Having a platform that allows you to develop AI applications and gives you all of the services needed for you to do prototyping and identify how that would benefit your business is a tremendous key to having VCF. Second, the ability to choose where you want your workloads to run and having visibility into multiple parts of your infrastructure is also something that we are seeing as a very needed, a very need in the IT infrastructure today. And lastly, as we continue to develop more and more and more services, applications, companies, etc., the ability to have a staff that understands all that you do, has a visibility into the entire platform. It is trained. It is knowledgeable about the variances of where workloads run and how you integrate the network, the storage, the compute, etc., is a tremendous advantage. And finally, all IT environments that I have ever worked at, and as you can probably tell, I've been around a while, we have always had silos that at times, I don't want to say work against each other, but they prevent a development from moving forward because individual silos have individual needs, and sometimes the needs may not align with everything that is happening. With a platform where everything is already connected in the back end, and you have microservices that are embedded into the platform to allow the network team to do what they need to do, the security team to do what they need to do, the infrastructure team to do what they need to do, the application development team. The value of this platform is immense from a strategic point of view. So as each one of you go into your environment, whatever version that you're using today, Enterprise Plus, VVF, some of you may be using Standard, look into moving to VCF, because in the future, that is going to be a platform that will offer everything that you need. You may not be there today, and the way you justify what you're doing or that you benefit from what you're doing is by identifying the business need that exists in each of these towers. And even if you decide that operational efficiency is the thing that is killing me today, and I need to move into that direction, select VCF, implement it, go into this, get the business result and the value from VCF that it brings with the operational efficiency on the VCF operations. And then my team will work alongside of you to identify all these other opportunities that will be part of your licensing. where you will be able to draw even more value of what you are acquiring. But again, I'm asking you to think strategically on how this would benefit you. And technically, if you need more information, we can get into each one of these areas in detail. You're going to have my information. Please feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to meet with each one of you and dive into deep detail on each one of these areas. I know today was very scattered, very quick. I just don't have the time to get into all of these things, but I will be happy to do that individually with each one of you. So with that, Erica, I think I am done with my slides. So let's open for questions.
Are you able to see the Q&A on your end? It looks like we have a couple outstanding questions. If you go to the
Let
bottom, you should
me
be able to
stop
click.
sharing here. All right, Q&A. So let's go there. So how does VCF fit with my company that does absolutely no in-house programming? Seems like I'm paying for a lot of features that are not relevant to us. Okay, Sachin, I see that you are answering. Do you want me to take that on? Okay, I don't know if Sachin, looks like Sachin is typing an answer, but I can go ahead and take that on. I think that, as I was saying before, the value of VCF is not in a specific function. So you may not have in-house programming, but I'm fairly sure if you have a robust environment that you will have a need for the VCF operations, for security, for compliance maintenance, potentially for storage. As I said, storage is very individual for each environment, but is one part of the environment. We don't create the VCF with all of these functions, as I said in the beginning, to create shelfware. The reason we create is because we want to be able to provide the platform to the lowest clients and to the largest clients. An example we just had on VMware Explorer, it was, what was that, the name of the gentleman? I can't remember his name, but he is the leader of Greenwell Mutual, which is an insurance company. I believe they've been in business for like 100 years. And their staff for the entire IT department is 17 people. And they decided that VCF was the decision for them to implement. And he shared how it has been incredibly successful. They have been able to save in their overall IT spend about $1 million a year doing that. And I would say that's a fairly small client. I don't know a lot about their environment, but I'm not sure if they build their own apps on site or not. But nonetheless, they have good use for VCF. So I wouldn't think of a particular function if you have that or not. Does the platform bring the business value that you need? That's how I would look at it. Let's see, second question. Heard there's a certain spend level needed to get away from the janky third-party TD Synnex support from VVF. Any insight? We have TD Synnex is one of our partners, and if you're having issues with them, I would highly suggest that you identify your Broadcom account director and have a conversation with them, because we work very closely with TD Synnex, and we trained a lot of their engineers on the support that they provide. And again, the numbers that I have are secondhand. I have numbers that indicate that the majority of the cases from TD Synnex are handled successfully to the satisfaction of the clients. If there is a specific item that is an issue, I would suggest you please contact us, and you will have my information. If you don't know who your Broadcom account director is, I will be able to find that and connect you. So I don't know how else to answer that. Overall, we have really good responses from the clients that are being supported by TD SYNNEX. Is there a slide which you would tell us what's included in VCF and what comes as an add-on? Absolutely. Yeah, we have that slide, and Sachin, I saw that he was answering that. If he does not provide the slide, I will be happy to provide that. What you will find is that VCF is, it contains a lot, and a few add-ons are usually for some very specific functions that businesses may need. So I'll be happy to provide the slide with more detail. And it looks like, let's see, microsegmentation is part of vDefend and not part of NSX. And we're in, there's a, we would have to have a deeper conversation, because there is a part of NSX in microsegmentation that is included in VCF, but the vDefend firewalls are not. So this would be a deeper conversation, but there is, NSX is part of what you get with the VCF license. vDefend is an add-on, is the firewall with ATP and IPS and IDS and so forth. That is an add-on product. So. Questions here. So let me look at the chat. Is there anything? See if I need to address anything here. Yeah, assistant have notes this meeting for transfer. We heard automation is going out of public cloud accounts integration. Is that coming back again? I'm not sure I know how to answer that. I don't know if they're talking about cloud directors or is it possible for Mubarak? Would you mind contacting me and sharing a little more detail on what your question is? I'll be happy to answer. Azure or AWS public cloud integration, I mean. Yes, as I said, we will be able, the VCF licenses are portable, and you can move them into Azure or AWS and have a VCF environment in them, and you will be able to have visibility into the into Azure or AWS along with whatever workloads you have on-prem. And yeah, and you said you can contact me with more details. Yeah, I'll be happy to share more if you need more information. Let's see. I think I have another question here. Holodeck 9.0. I don't know a lot about the requirements for Holodeck. I would have to ask one of my engineers. I actually have a gentleman, Kevin Brady, that is deeply involved with Holodeck and hands-on lab, etc. Jason, if you wouldn't mind sending me an email or a message. And Erica, let me ask you a question before I say all this. These questions are being tracked, right? Where I will have visibility onto them after we're done with the recording?
Yes, we'll export the questions, so you'll have them afterwards.
So so Jason, please allow me to respond to you with more details on an email. I don't have that right now, but I will have a gentleman named Kevin Brady to contact you and give you more information on the Holodeck. Let's see, is there another question here? Okay, Da Vinci, you explained and posed the question, is VCF good for this? However, there's a strong push for Broadcom VCF 9, stay supported with the next version of it. So this scramble mode together. Things working and tested in a hurry to get a platform, whether it makes sense or not for the business. Are you saying that you need to go to VCF 9 because there's going to be a lack of support? Da Vinci, are you able to clarify a little bit? Because the only thing that I know that is going out of support is vSphere 7 in November is the only version. I think anything else above that from vSphere, vCenter, Enterprise Plus, VVF, none of that is going out of support anytime soon. So I'm not sure I'm following the VCF 9. I think, in my opinion, going to VCF 9 and deploying it as quickly as you can, it's to your advantage because you will be ahead of the curve on having the functionality that comes with VCF 9. But I don't know that I would agree with a strong push from a support perspective. I don't know that you would need to scramble to get there. I would advise that you do really good planning and understand what you're deploying because there's so much that you can do. It would be nice to have a very detailed plan on what you want to deploy from the beginning. And Jason, thank you for the email. Da Vinci, did I answer your question? Okay, I'll wait for him to respond. Let's see.
We
Looks
have one
like in
more
the chat,
question in the chat.
I'm seeing a lot of hardware vendors packaging AI solutions with Red Hat. What is Broadcom doing in this space, specifically with a push for VCF, V9 VCF? AI is everywhere. To say that somebody has a corner on AI, I think he would be premature and actually, not very wise because there's so much that is being done live. It changes every week. What I would say is with VCF 9, the advantage that you have with a private AI, in my opinion, is the ability of the microservices. We currently have a very deep list of microservices that you can have as you are developing your AI applications and then modeling them to understand what it is that you can do. And are there other developments out there? Absolutely there are. But I think what you will find as people continue to develop applications and develop environments to support the workloads and all, they will realize that using VCF 9 is the most economical and easiest way to deploy your AI applications. I have seen a lot of details on how those workloads are being created in hyperscalers and so forth and what it costs, and also how you can use your GPUs. In VCF, you are able to actually work with the GPUs just like you do on the CPUs where you are able to virtualize them. It's an advantage that I'm not familiar that Red Hat is able to do. And if they do, I would venture to say that the microservices are not up to the scale that we have. So I think we have an advantage on that area, but you will not hear me speak ill of any other product. I think there are a lot of worthwhile products out there, out in the market. I just think ours is best. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I see any other questions here. I'm not seeing any on the chat. I'm not seeing any on the questions. You guys are an easy crowd. I was expecting a lot more, questions, and I'll be happy to come back, Erica, if you want me to do something else. But yes, there's a lot going on, and there are a lot of individual needs with our clients. Again, as I said before, I am available for any and all conversations. So if you don't feel comfortable asking the question on a public forum and you would like a private forum to have a conversation, feel free to reach out to me, please.
I'm going to share our closing
Another question.
slides.
One last question, looks like.
Mm.
Does VCF 9 include a replication ability that would allow you to not have a product like Zerto? Well, it's Zerto, if I am reading what you're saying, is more of a backup type of product. It allows replication from a backup and recovery perspective. We have a different process with VCDR on how we do the backups and the replication of our images from a recovery perspective. So my answer would be yes, but it is not the same as what Zerto do. It's a little bit different, but we can accommodate that same functionality in a different way of processing the backups and the imaging and backup imaging and all those things. Let's see, you have also specified VCF will cover the third-party cost that we pay for Kubernetes. Please, can you clarify that? Also clarify on IDPS and distributed firewalls for VCF. What I meant with the Kubernetes is if you deploy VCF and with the licensing that you are getting with VKS, you will get a full-blown Kubernetes environment. So let's say you use Red Hat today. You could take those containers from Red Hat and move them into VCF. Also, last week, we announced a partnership specifically for the VKS part of VCF with Canonical and Ubuntu. We will have all of the functionality that actually runs the containers, you know, the back end and all of the functionality that goes with it. It's all built into VCF. So yes, as far as the economic part of that, again, I'm not trying to say anything ill of Red Hat and all that, but you basically have the same thing with VCF. So if you are paying for VCF for something that brings you business value in a different area, in operations and security and networking, know that Kubernetes is also built in. So you can actually use VCF. And if you have a different product today, another cool thing that you can do is you can run them in parallel. Create a container within VCF that is the same thing you have outside of VCF. Look how the two work together or compare the two. And I think you will see that it's basically the same thing. So if you have an extra cost on the outside version of VCF, yes, that is an opportunity for you to save you know, some money by moving the containers back inside VCF. Let's see. Oh, you also asked about the IDS, the IDPS and the distributed firewall. The distributed firewall, the vDefend firewall is an add-on, and it is an add-on that has, I believe, 2 separate tiers. You can get just the firewall, or you can have an ATP version that has IDS and IPS, and I believe there's one more version too, but that is an add-on to VCF. And again, I can share all the details on how that works, but it is designed to integrate into the platform to have a seamless communication with all of the other functions that I described. All right, Erica, we have about 5 minutes left. I don't see anything else there.
Great.
I see the takeaways from Kent.
I'm going to share my final slides.
Okay. Oh, looks like got a couple more questions here. Let's see.
There we go. Thank you everyone for joining us today. The session was recorded and it will be distributed in a wrap-up email after the webcast. It will also be available in our on-demand library at vmug.com. It will prompt you to fill out a survey after the webcast, and that is really helpful information for us to continue to provide fresh, relevant content for future webcasts. We would appreciate if you do that. It's just a couple questions. And then please use the code community for 10% off of a 1-year VMUG Advantage membership. This is our paid membership that gets you into a program that has a lot of benefits alongside your Broadcom VMware solutions, including vDefend that we discussed earlier today. So definitely check that out. And especially if you're certified, this is the best thing to layer on top of that to really get all those licenses for your home lab. Some information on things that you get in addition on our paid membership, and then that code the last time. That's all I've got for you guys.
There was one more
Sure.
question, Erica, that came up, and
Okay.
we will answer all of those and send the answers to the folks. So just know that if you happen to just add a question that I didn't address, we will answer it and send you a response.
Yeah, and we can stay on through the full 1 p.m. hour if that's more helpful as questions start rolling in.
Okay.
Or we can end. It's whatever you guys need. But I appreciate
Yeah, I
everyone
think
dialing in today. And really thank you for presenting that, Doug. That was really helpful information.
you are very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you all for listening and participating. If any of you have any questions, as I said, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to either answer the question for you or point you in the right direction. It looks like Sachin answered a question that came in about licensing limits, and there aren't none. Your license is whatever you purchased, it's all inclusive. All right, I don't see anything else. We have a couple of minutes left, so I think we can call it a day, Erica.
Fantastic. Yeah, I answered one last question in the chat. For those who are curious, yeah, VMUG Advantage with a certification gets you those home lab licenses exclusively. So check out VMUG Advantage on our website.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.